Hey, what's already? Welcome back to News Dose, and it's gone wild this past week between Xbox and PlayStation. You know, it kind of feels like they're in a competition with each other right now to see who can step on a rake the hardest. Like I said, it's been wild, and, well, over the weekend, there has been a constant flow of information and discovery for their situations. In the case of Xbox, right now, it sounds like there is a scapegoat for everything that they've gone through these past few years, as a scathing report came out regarding Sarah Bond, but I think this raises just as many questions as it does answers. Then, on the side of PlayStation, somehow the Bluepoint closure just got even worse, and fans are livid with Sony and what they've done to a really great studio. In my opinion, it was actually one of their best studios, or at least on paper, so for them to miss this bad, it's just incredibly frustrating. So yeah, we'll get into both situations today. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go get right into things, though, starting off with NieR Automata. I mean, this game is a true masterpiece, in my opinion. If you haven't already played it, please do yourself a favor and go check it out. It's unique, it's crazy, it's beautiful, and it's really just one of the best games that I've ever played. But that's kind of the thing about NieR, because it's been, 9 years since Automata first launched? Now, Square Enix made the smart decision to remaster NieR Replicant, which is also a brilliant game, but I think a lot of fans are ready for yet another brand new core entry, not a mobile title, and, well, looks like our wishes are about to come true. Square Enix just dropped a new video to celebrate its 10 million units sold milestone, and right at the end of its trailer, they teased quote-unquote NieR Automata to be continued. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that means they're working on a direct sequel to NieR Automata, or if they're just continuing the NieR series with a brand new entry and new characters, which I think is actually more likely, but either which way, it does appear that a new NieR game could be on the way, unless this is just a poorly worded tease, in which case, come on, Square Enix, you gotta do better. Now, hopefully, if it is a tease for the next game, then hopefully it's already far along in development, because again, it's been a while for us NieR fans. Oh, and Pokemon Day is coming up this week. Do expect some big-time Pokemon announcements on the 27th, but in the meantime, they dropped Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green onto the Nintendo eShop. And it's this move that has left a lot of Nintendo fans divided. On one side, it's great that we can play these games on modern Nintendo consoles, but at the same time, the fact that they're $20 a piece instead of being attached to their Switch Online subscription service has some fans calling Nintendo greedy. Now, that's nothing new for this generation, but personally, I actually do like that these games are available on the eShop, but that's more just because I have an issue in how Nintendo positions their Switch Online service. Unlike other subscription services, Nintendo doesn't really put their Switch Online games on their eShop, which basically means that you don't have a choice in how you consume their games. Personally, I think their games should be both on Switch Online as well as the eShop to give you that choice. And I think that if they were to do that, then they would probably make a lot of extra money from gamers who don't want to subscribe to their service. From my understanding, though, the idea to have Fire Red and Leaf Green on the eShop is believed to be because they want to add Pokemon Home at a later date as an added feature. Now, we'll see if that actually happens, but my only thing about these games is that, if I'm being completely honest, unless you plan to play their multiplayer, then I think that there are better options to play through Fire Red and Leaf Green in the year of 2026. I'm actually going to point to the Pokemon ROM hack Radical Red, but hey, like I said, still cool to see them available on modern Nintendo consoles. Oh, and Nioh 3 has been doing extraordinarily well, and so much so that it's now officially the fastest selling entry in the series. And that's the thing, because the Nioh series has sold 10 million units. That's pretty incredible. So, yeah, Team Ninja has definitely had success with the Nioh franchise. Nonetheless, though, Nioh 3 has already topped 1 million units sold in just 2 weeks. And based on what Alinea Analytics discovered, a lot of that is directly from China. It has been a very popular game in China thus far, and that's really cool to see. I know a lot of game companies are trying to break into that region just because there's a lot of potential there, but so far, there's not many companies that's actually had a lot of success. So to see a series like Nioh achieve something like this, I think is pretty cool. Whatever the case may be, though, big congrats to Team Ninja, and really just to all of you Nioh fans out there. All right, now let's just go and talk about the latest information for Xbox and Phil Spencer's unexpected retirement. I mean, this sent shockwaves throughout the industry last week, and over the weekend, there was a lot more information that came out. It was suggested by Greg Miller that Phil Spencer was actually forced out. Now, if that turns out to be true, which I believe there is a high chance that it is, then we will likely get more information about that in the nearest future. That's not a secret that I think Microsoft is going to be able to keep all that long. So we will likely come back to this topic in a future video. But for now, another article popped up this morning that painted Sarah Bond in a less than desirable light. So this comes from Tom Warren over on The Verge, and let's just take a look at this statement that he wrote. He said the pivot away from console, led by Bond under Spencer's direction, hasn't gone well for Xbox. Microsoft's Xbox hardware revenue has declined for 3 financial years in a row, and it looks like those declining revenues are going to continue throughout the fiscal year of 2026. Most of the current and former Xbox employees I've spoken to in recent days are relieved that Bond is leaving Microsoft. I've heard from multiple sources that Bond has been tough to work with and built a team structure that meant if you didn't follow the vision or questioned it, you were out. Most have praised her ability to strike partnerships with companies and developers, though. I understand that Bond's strategy has been failing internally and been questioned multiple times. Bond had tried to push mobile and cloud over console to reach potentially millions more Xbox customers, but the result has been a classic case of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's. So yeah, this is not good. This throws Sarah Bond under the bus. And if this is true, then it would explain a lot about her resignation last week. Microsoft seems to be going in a new direction with Asha Sharma because they are looking to take Xbox into a new direction. As Asha said last week, one of her main goals is for the return of Xbox, or in other words, to re-emphasize their core fans and even their consoles. Now, this obviously is a shift away from Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer's Xbox everywhere mentality. But my only thing about this report is that if you look at the biggest, most sweeping changes for Xbox, those all seem to have taken place after the Activision Blizzard acquisition. In fact, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella went on record during their lawsuit against the FTC stating that he doesn't like exclusives and that if he could, he would completely get rid of them, which is basically what happened just after their acquisition. Now, I bring that up because for 23 years prior, Xbox always had exclusives. Yet as soon as Microsoft got more involved in the gaming division was when they went away from them. So I don't know, it just kind of feels like there may have been pressure from some of Microsoft's higher-ups that caused some of the decisions that happened these past few years. In fact, it was recently reported that Microsoft put a new mandate on Xbox studios for 30% profit margins. So that kind of mandate, yes, does put a lot of pressure on the Xbox team, which has resulted in things like, yes, multi-platform, because without it, they likely wouldn't reach that goal. So I don't know if I'm completely on board for making Sarah Bond the scapegoat. I definitely did not like the marketing campaign of this is an Xbox. It sounds like she was behind that, and that was a bad idea on her part. But I think that there's a high chance that a lot of the decisions that were made these past few years does reflect on Microsoft and their desire to get a return on investment for Activision Blizzard. Now, that's not to say that I agree with Sarah Bond's Xbox everywhere mentality. Again, I've gone on record multiple times that I do not like the kumbaya mentality that modern-day Xbox has. Personally, I like competition, which I've explained extensively in previous episodes. For today's video, though, I just question the reality that her decisions didn't come with pressure from higher-ups that don't really understand the need for a competitive product in the gaming space. And now that they're starting to see why it's needed, they're kind of reversing and they're using her as a scapegoat. And whatever the case may be, though, if the new Xbox CEO comes in and actually stays true to her words, or at least the words that her social media team is putting out on Twitter, then I will ultimately be happy. I mean, right now, she and her team are saying the right things. They seem to want to bring that competitive spirit back to Xbox. Now, will that mean more exclusives in the future? I'm not exactly so sure about that just yet, but personally, I hope that's the direction that they go in. See, the thing is, and I've talked about this before, but the more competitive that Xbox is, the better the game industry is, because it also pushes companies like Sony to better themselves as well, rather than them getting a free pass from their 10+ canceled live service projects. What I fear, though, because I need to see actions rather than just words, is that Microsoft could be running a PR smokescreen, and then they just stay the course of what they've, done over the past few years. So again, I need to see action. Only time will tell. But let me know what you all think about this situation. Do you believe that Sarah Bond was actually the main problem for Xbox these past few years? And what do you think about Asha Sharma and some of the things that she's been saying online, including that she quote-unquote hears fans about the idea of Xbox exclusivity? Do you think that she's actually going to bring back Xbox exclusivity, or if she's just trying to please fans with a PR smokescreen? All right, now before we go, though, we also got an update for Bluepoint and their closure from last week. Now, this comes from Detective Seeds, as he was able to contact a few employees through LinkedIn. And what he was told is that after their God of War live service project got canceled, it seems that the atmosphere soured at the studio. They reportedly pitched 4 projects to PlayStation, 2 of which were actually single-player remakes, though Sony rejected them because in their eyes, they wouldn't make enough money. However, where this becomes very strange is that reportedly one of those remakes are actually being made under a different studio. So it almost reads as if Sony did believe that it could be successful, but for some reason they didn't put that remake under Bluepoint, but instead under a different studio. Now that is completely bizarre to me, especially given Bluepoint's track record. And I do wonder if it's the God of War trilogy in question. I mean, that would be one of the most logical remakes for Bluepoint, considering they were previously working on a live service God of War project. So, I mean, maybe it was their idea in the first place to do a God of War trilogy, but Sony wanted Sony Santa Monica on it instead. I mean, I really don't know what to make of this situation, but again, I do have to reiterate what I said last week. For one, Bluepoint had zero business at all working on a live service game in the first place. Technically, it sounds like Bluepoint, yes, did pitch the idea to Sony, because at the time, Sony was gung-ho over live service games. But the reality is that out of all of the games that they didn't greenlight, it probably should have been that game in the first place. I mean, not these other remakes that Bluepoint apparently pitched to Sony these past 12 months. And I'm also very curious to know what those 2 games actually were. Because if it was a game like Bloodborne, Legend of Dragoon, Jak and Daxter, or really a number of other PlayStation games that fans have wanted to return for years and years, whether that be Resistance, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, I mean, Infamous, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, if it's any of those games that did not get the green light, and if fans are to find out about that, then I think fans are going to be even more furious with Sony, knowing that they rejected a game like that. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Bluepoint was probably one of their best acquisitions, or at least on paper. And for Sony to fumble this hard, to me, is just beyond ridiculous. I truthfully do not understand how somebody like Herman Holst still has a job, while a super talented studio like Bluepoint doesn't. And a lot of the reason why is honestly because of some of the bad decisions that he's made, and really just Sony's upper leadership has made this past generation. I don't know. I guess it is what it is, but I do view this as one of the worst closures in gaming history, hands down. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.